Hey folks, if you want to stay ahead with real news, you got to follow S News. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.
Yeah, that's right. Support us by subscribing, liking, and commenting. Your engagement really helps us bring you more in-depth stories and updates. Stick with S News for the latest, and thanks for being part of our community. Ukrainian drones strike Russian oil depot. Then this happened. At exactly 3 a.m. local time on June 6, 2025, 17 Ukrainian drones swarmed Engels airbase like wolves circling prey. They had been flying non-stop for 6 hours, covering 750 kilometers through enemy territory, with no GPS, no communication, and no human control during the last 30 minutes. In just a few minutes, their onboard AI would demonstrate how a few DIY-looking parts could outsmart a $500 million air defense system and potentially keep a fleet of nuclear bombers grounded.
The lead drone's thermal camera picks up heat signatures from a fuel depot, but this isn't some amateur-hour mission.
That camera feeds data into a neural network trained on 10,000 satellite images of fuel depots. The AI doesn't just see the facility, it understands it, tank configurations, pipeline layouts, everything. From a grainy 640 by 480 image, 4 massive white-hot circles glow against the cold background.
The AI's edge detection algorithm identifies each tank, assigns them IDs, and runs temperature analyses. Tank 4 reads 15.7 degrees Celsius, Tank 7 is at 12.1 degrees, Tank 12 shows 11.8, and Tank 1 is 13.2.
That 3.6 degree difference tells the whole story. Tank 4 was just filled, meaning it has the highest vapor pressure, volatility, and explosive potential.
Here's where things get, eerie. Each of the 17 drones runs the exact same analysis independently. No central command, no coordination. Just 17 identical minds reaching the same conclusion. Tank 4 gets hit first.
That independent thinking doesn't stop at target selection. Each drone adds its own serial number to its attack vector. Drone number 1 comes in from a heading of 270 degrees. Drone number 2 from 275. The small angle offsets create overlapping blast zones while preventing mid-air collisions. Imagine 2 people throwing rocks at the same target from slightly different spots, close enough to pack a punch, but far enough apart not to crash into each other.
As they approach the base, cellular signals drop to a single bar. In this area, hijacked Russian SIM cards struggle to stay connected to any tower. Within 30 seconds, the drones dip below 50 meters and go fully autonomous. The operators back at base are now just spectators.
Each drone's flight controller, a cheap Chinese unit modeled after a popular design, recalculates collision avoidance routes 10 times a second. Ultrasonic sensors maintain a 2-meter invisible bubble around each drone.
As turbulence pushes them closer, micro-adjustments keep them from crashing. So far, the system works. It just needs to hold together 5 more minutes.
At 10 kilometers out, the formation begins to shift, from a loose cluster into a precise attack array. Picture a flock of birds suddenly forming a perfect V. But this isn't about conserving energy. It's about maximizing destruction with zero coordination.
The AI has already calculated optimal impact angles based on each tank structure. 7 drones climb to 80 meters to strike tank tops where the steel is thinnest. 5 hold at 50 meters to hit the upper walls where vapor collects. The remaining 5 drop to 30 meters to aim at lower sections where structural seams are weakest.
At 3:01 a.m., the S-400 radar sweeps overhead. It scans the space the drones were in just 2 seconds earlier. The operator sees nothing. The drones are flying too low, below the radar's horizon, hidden by the curve of the Earth. But something feels off. The night is just, well, too quiet. No commercial flights, no military movement, even the birds seem gone.
Inside the lead drone's memory, a simple countdown timer is ticking. At a preset coordinate, the autopilot will take over completely. No human can stop it. No jammer can confuse it. The drone will carry out its final commands with robotic precision, aim at Tank 4, maintain 42 meters per second speed, and detonate on impact.
By 3:02 a.m., the cellular signal disappears completely. All 17 drones switch to full self-guidance. 17 bombs now locked in. 17 algorithms that can no longer be reasoned with, jammed, or shut down, short of a miracle.
As the drones close in, the fuel depot is guarded by a layered air defense network that costs more than the entire Ukrainian drone program. The first layer, An S-400 battery 3 kilometers northwest. This $500 million system can theoretically intercept ballistic missiles in space, stealth jets at 400 kilometers, or cruise missiles hugging the terrain. Its 92N6E radar pumps out enough energy to cook a turkey at 10 kilometers.
But physics doesn't care about fancy brochures. At the drone's 50-meter altitude, the S-400 can only detect them from 28 kilometers. And that's in perfect conditions. Tonight, atmospheric disturbances and urban clutter reduce that to 20 kilometers. Radar hates looking down through chaos. Buildings, trees, hot and cold air pockets all scatter the signal. It's like trying to find your keys after someone cleaned the house. Even if you know where they are, you can't see them.
By the time the drones are on radar, there's less than 5 minutes to impact. That might be enough for a fighter jet, but not for a stealthy swarm you can't even track properly. The S-400's engagement computer checks its threat library. 10,000 signatures of known aircraft and missiles. F-15 from 50 miles. Got it. Air-to-ground missile. No problem. But a slow-moving plastic quadcopter with a radar profile smaller than a seagull. It's not in the system. It's flagged as unknown or low priority.
Even the S-400's backup, 4 Panzer S-1 units guarding the depot, struggles. Each one costs $15 million, loaded with 125 missiles and twin 30mm cannons. Promo videos show them blasting cruise missiles from the sky with ease. What they don't show is the 0.1 square meter radar cross-section limit needed to target something. OSA drones come in at 0.01 square meters, 10 times smaller. Technically, it's possible to hit something that small, but it's like trying to shoot a mosquito with a shotgun.
Even when a Panzer's thermal camera picks up a drone, it's hard to lock on. The 57E6 missile needs constant radar guidance. But lighting up a plastic drone with radar is like trying to spotlight a black cat in a coal mine. The radar link breaks, then reconnects, then breaks again. The proximity fuse, designed for metal aircraft, often doesn't even detect the drone's composite body.
Russia knows drones are a problem. That's why every strategic site is surrounded by GPS jammers, designed to throw off Western drones by faking their coordinates, making them think they're flying over the Pacific Ocean. But the OSA drones don't use GPS. They navigate like it's 1943, with a compass, accelerometers and dead reckoning. $1 million electronic warfare system means nothing to these flying lawnmowers. You can't jam what doesn't exist. It's like bringing a computer virus to a knife fight. And unfortunately for the Russians, that's exactly what they weren't ready for. This depot has 12 massive cylindrical tanks, each 20 meters wide, holding 2,000 tons of fuel. Designed in 1962, they were spaced 30 meters apart, close enough for maintenance crews to share tools, but far enough that a single bomb wouldn't destroy more than one tank. But that's assuming B-52s and steel bombs, not swarms of drones with shaped charges.
The automated fire suppression system looks impressive from the control room. Green lights show that 50,000 liters of foam are ready to deploy, nozzles spaced every 10 meters, and thermal sensors monitoring for any heat spikes. What the lights don't show? The foam might be expired, half the nozzles could be clogged with rust, and the system is only designed for one tank fire, not simultaneous explosions.
Now just 15 kilometers out, the drones continue their approach. Radar screens across the base show the usual noise. Migrating birds, weird atmospheric reflections. Somewhere in that chaos, 17 real threats maintain perfect formation. Not invisible because they're stealthy, invisible because they're too simple to be seen.
At 3:03 a.m., I suddenly see a contact appear on my Panzer S-1 screen. Gives me chills, honestly. Range 8 kilometers. Altitude 50 meters. Speed 151 kilometers per hour. I'm confused. That's too slow for a missile, too fast for a bird, and way too low for anything that should be there. I spin the electro-optical turret to max zoom. The thermal imager shows a faint heat signature on the cold ground. 4 rotors, a central body. Definitely a drone, but smaller than anything in our database. Then another, and another. My mouth goes dry as I count 17 contacts spread over a 3-kilometer wide front. The range counter ticks down. 7 kilometers, then 6.5. At this speed, impact in 130 seconds. I don't wait for orders. I slam my thumb on the fire button, overriding all safety locks for a reason.
The first 57 E-6 missile erupts from the tube in a blast of fire and smoke. The solid-fuel rocket engine launches the missile to Mach 2.8 in just 3 seconds, speeding straight toward the lead drone.
But something's off. The radar signal flickers like a dying light bulb. The missile's receiver is struggling to stay locked onto a target that barely registers on the electromagnetic spectrum. At 2.1 kilometers from the drone, the missile's proximity fuse makes a decision. It's looking for a radar signature big enough to trigger detonation, but the OSA drone is just too small. The fuse decides this isn't a valid target.
The million-ruble missile misses by 3 meters, close enough to jolt the drone with its supersonic wake, but not enough to do any damage.
Another missile is fired, but this time the drone performs a pre-programmed pop-up maneuver, climbing 20 meters in 2 seconds, then dropping back to 30. The missile's guidance computer, expecting predictable behavior, completely loses track.
Another million-ruble piece of precision engineering goes sailing into the dark.
Across the depot, 3 more Panzer batteries open fire.
The night sky lights up with missiles chasing ghosts. Tracer rounds from the 30mm cannons draw golden arcs through the sky. But hitting a drone from 3 kilometers away with an autocannon is like trying to shoot a fly buzzing around your backyard with a bow and arrow. You might get lucky, but you'll waste a lot of arrows trying.
The shells self-destruct after 4 seconds of flight, leaving black smoke clouds that mark their failure.
Nearby, the Tor M2 system fires up its phased array radar, scanning for targets, but runs into the same issue. The drones are flying beneath its minimum engagement range. This system, meant to track 48 targets at once, can barely lock onto one.
I watch targets blink in and out like fireflies, too faint and inconsistent to get a weapons lock.
At 0306, pure chance intervenes. One missile's proximity fuse catches a drone mid-turn, where its radar cross-section is largest. The warhead explodes, spraying 50,000 tungsten fragments through the air. The drone disintegrates in a flash of orange, raining burning plastic across the depot.
Now only 16 drones remain, all within 3 kilometers, too close for any more missile strikes.
The only defense left are the twin 30mm cannons, but they're pointed at the depot's fuel tanks. One stray shot, one ricochet, and we might do the enemy's job for them.
The formation adjusts automatically. The remaining drones spread out further, forcing the defenders to divide their fire. Some drones climb to hit from higher angles, others dive low. The swarm has lost one member, but not its purpose. The algorithms don't mourn, they just recalculate.
By 0307, the air defenses are running low on ammo, the missile stock's nearly spent, and the barrels of the cannons are glowing from overuse. Hit probabilities drop into the single digits. The defenders can only watch as 16 drones begin their final attack runs, each locked onto a specific section of the fuel depot. At 0308, the lead drone slams into tank number 4. Its 3.2 kilogram copper-shaped charge cuts through 8 millimeters of steel like its foil. The explosion occurs 0.3 seconds later, deep inside the vapor space above 2,000 tons of jet fuel. What happens next is both terrifying and beautiful. The blast sends a pressure wave at 2,800 meters per second through the air-fuel mixture. This isn't a fireball out of a movie. It's a detonation that turns liquid fuel into an expanding gas faster than the tank can handle. The roof doesn't just pop off. It launches like a 15-ton steel frisbee, spinning through the air before crashing 200 meters away. The tank walls peel back like a banana, releasing a wave of flaming fuel. The burning fuel, now at 1,800 degrees Celsius, flows past the containment trenches, which were designed for leaks, not complete structural failure. Within seconds, the inferno reaches the shared pipe network of tank number 5. The heat causes the steel pipes, rated for 20 atmospheres of pressure, to rupture, triggering the next explosion. The second drone hits tank number 1 10 seconds later, then tank number 7, then tank number 12. Each strike precisely timed to maximize the chain reaction. The depot's automatic fire suppression system kicks in, pumping foam at 10,000 liters per minute. But it's like spitting on a volcano. The foam runs out in 90 seconds, barely covering a quarter of the burning surface. The heat is indescribable. Even 100 meters away, the radiant energy reaches 50 kilowatts per square meter. enough to ignite wood on contact. Fire trucks approaching from certain angles can't get closer than 500 meters before their paint begins to bubble. Crew members watch helplessly as their thermometers max out. Meanwhile, fuel continues to pour from undamaged tanks through underground pipes, feeding the fire like arteries pumping blood into a burning heart. Emergency shut-off valves, designed in the 1960s, fail one by one as their seals melt. Each failure adds thousands of tons of fuel to the inferno. By 0318, tank number 6 suffers what's known as a bleave, a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. It doesn't just catch fire, it blows up.
This wasn't just regular jet fuel. It was a specialized blend used by Tu-160 and Tu-95 MS strategic bombers. Its chemical additives prevent freezing at 50,000 feet, making it impossible to replace with regular aviation kerosene. At the cost of a modest Moscow apartment, Ukraine has sent a swarm 750 kilometers and taken out Russia's nuclear bomber fleet. Now, every airbase commander, from Murmansk to Vladivostok, is doing the same math. If a bunch of plastic drones can fly 600 kilometers, and Moscow is only 700 kilometers away.
Hey, thanks for sticking with us through this story. If you found it interesting, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives and updates. We appreciate your support.